Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dead Air podcast. Myself and Blank locked back in. Of course, we got another hot fix this week, Blank. About, what was it, a day ago? 2 days ago? About a day ago? Something like that?
There you go. There you go. Yeah. We're recording this in advance. Just cause. We're never late and we're quite organised and on time. That's why.
Yeah. Keep it coming. Keep them coming at your heart. You know, give you the update as it goes live. Quite good timing this time around. Usually we get them like Tuesday, Monday, kind of, you know, early week, late, talking like 2, 4 a.m. This one was more reasonable. It's like a Friday update, 9 p.m. Europe, maybe? Pretty calm.
What is mental about it is it's on the 4th of July as well. So...
Yes. Actually, it's a good point, right? You've thrown us into a good starting point for this podcast. So, by the
America!
way... Yeah, sure. Yeah, like, GG, guys, I guess. Well done. But 4th of July, Blank, that's 1 year since the very first episode of Patch Notice. The first one I did on my channel before we even, like, concepted, should we make Dead Air? And, like, we all came together like a small Avengers, but there's just 3 of us. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't even realize until saw, you know, the title of the patch where it's like 7 for the 4th in American format. And you're like, well, that doesn't mean anything. But then you realize it means the 4th of July. And I was like, damn, dude, that's 1 year. The first one I posted was a year ago. Like, that's mad.
It's been a while. It's actually a year is
right?
Pretty crazy.
12 months to the day. 12 months to the day for Patch Notice.
Bloody hell. Yeah, I mean, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. You know, we kept at it. Kept chipping away. You know, the diamond's coming. So it's the end of the tunnel.
You know,
you got to keep that pickaxe out.
It is mad because I realized not only even like has the game obviously drastically just looks different in every way, right? Like so much has changed. You go back to that point in that video and I'm talking about the fact that they just removed the 6 buffs scattered all over the map and changed it. Yeah, do you remember that? Where there used to be like a bridge buff that would spawn on top of the gas station on what used to be kind of green lane, mid lane. Used to have one on the outer camps. They were on top of like all the warehouses. There were 6 buffs. 6 buffs.
By the tier 3 camps as well. Like right on the side. Yes. They weren't tier 3 camps. They were buffs. Yeah. I do remember that. That's wild. That is a long time ago. Yeah.
So that was that update because I'm talking about it where I'm like, Valve have changed it from 6 buffs to only 2. And it's like, but no, who would have thought? And then they changed what the buffs were. Because you remember back then as well, it was so much different where everything was just a bit weird when you look back at older Deadlock, bro. It's like even the passive temporary buffs, remember you used to pick up like golden boons now, right? They were basically what bridge buffs are now. They used to be like temporary kind of, you know, double magazine for until that magazine's empty or like double speed. Weird stuff. But yeah, that's mad. Thing is,
it's crazy.
That was 12 months. And the next month, the 8th of August, Blank, that was when Valve promoted Dead Air. Well, the patch notice for the first time when they tweeted out about it.
A big promo.
Posted it in Discord, added everyone, and then it happened again. Like a week after when Dead Air officially kicked off.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. They've not done it since. I mean,
I don't think they've ever done it though. To be fair, like the 2 times it's ever been done was just us. So we kind of owned it there, really, haven't we?
Yeah, so, that was
thanks,
wild.
Yoshi.
I mean, to be fair, he's already kickstarted it at that point.
Yeah,
we don't need any more promo. I'd throw you. Thank you, Valve. We really appreciate it. But
I remember
we're good now. We're pretty good.
It's so funny how, obviously, for those of you that are a bit newer to Deadlock and don't know, like back then, right, when it was kind of 100,000 people in a private Discord, and it's like, oh, hush, hush, can't talk about Deadlock, kind of under wraps or whatever, like 10,000 people or whatever it was. When they did that, and Dead Air was like an unlisted channel. Yeah.
It was 3,000 back then, yeah.
We had 1,000 subs on a YouTube channel with 5 unlisted videos that you could never find anywhere unless you knew how to get there. And it was just so funny. I remember when we talked about it, we were like, this is so weird. Like, you know, the channel's got 1,000 subs. It's not even a video on the channel, technically.
Yeah, if someone just found that randomly, like, what is going on? There's no videos here. Yeah. Just odd. Yeah, very cool, though. I remember we got in trouble a couple of times where people would say like, "Is this unlisted? Is this private?" It's like, kind of. It's like, it's a sort of a grey area.
So I remember, right? Because obviously we did it where we kind of like mulled it over. We were like, dude, I love this game. We were both like super in very early when the test just started. You were making little guides. I'm making the patch videos. And we were like, what if we just make them, but don't share them? Like, can we give them just to the community? And like, we're posting them in Discord and stuff.
We
did ask.
Yeah.
And they said it was okay. They said, Valve said it's fine as long as it's unlisted. But I do remember there was discourse after it went out and Valve promoted it, and everyone was just like, if they're making videos, why can't I? And it was just like, well, you can. Just don't like, tell everyone in the street, Deadlock is a game. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I felt pretty weird about it at the time. To be honest, I did feel pretty weird about it because there was a lot of traction. It was kind of it was strange.
It was out of nowhere.
Time. Yeah, it was a strange time. And shout out to the OG subs. Honestly, shout out to you guys. I'm hoping you're still around. I really am hoping you're still around. Let us know in the comments down below.
You still see some of the faces.
We're doing more YouTube interaction and just video interaction in general. Yeah, we do. I can't remember what it was. Is I think there's someone called Ivy Enjoyer or something.
Ivy Gaming.
Ivy Gaming. Ivy Gaming used to post just being like, great podcast. It's like, way back then, it was just Ivy Gaming. Maybe one other person would post, but
because it was like an unlisted podcast that you could only. So obviously, the viewer base of listeners then was maybe like 100 people at most, right? Because it was just we're posting to like a little community. Yeah, every episode it was just like this was a good one. And then I remember they would always post saying, "Can't wait for the episode when you get Yoshi on." And obviously that seemed like ridiculously far-fetched of like, oh, that's crazy. But maybe, you know what, dude? Maybe now we can manifest that. Maybe we can like sneak to Seattle, get someone on. We'll do like an in-person one at Valve. Even if they don't let us, we'll just do it.
We'll just turn up.
We'll just do it.
Like how we turned up in Hawaii as well. That was amazing. That was an amazing time for us. You can see we're still wearing our Hawaii shirts from when we did go to the Valve big meetup.
We just turned up. We went to the Big Kahuna bar whilst they were hanging out. We sat there.
We were across the way. We saw them.
Yeah. Had our goggles on. We were like, it looks like they've changed the map to 3 lanes. I don't know why they had it on Steam Decks at the bar, but they did.
But they did. But that would be cool. I actually that would be really, a really enjoyable thing to do. I do wonder when we would do that though, if it could happen.
If it ever manifests.
Obviously, we're manifesting right now. We're manifest with us, please. You are great. You are amazing. Where is Yoshi, please? But yeah,
what the front desk. But the mental thing is, I'm pretty sure it's like the Valve building is like a big shared building. I think it's like the same as like the Nintendo building. It's all in one. So you'd have to you get security and be like, "Hello, sir. I am here from the dead air internet. I'm looking for Yosha." And they're like, "Sorry, like what?
Who's
you need
big
to
Yosha?
Leave. You've got to leave. Like, please leave." Please.
Security would come. Anyway, that would be really cool.
Yeah, man.
That's probably the pipeline for much further down the line. I don't imagine that anyone from Valve would like to speak to us until it's like a little bit more
if
concrete.
They can avoid it with us. They know what we're like. They've probably seen the podcast, man. They're like, these guys are just going to be annoying. They're going to be talking about pineapples and beans.
They're not going to want to talk to us. Anyway, this is a nice 8 minutes of us manifesting.
This is good. This is good. But I will final nightcap for that one. It would actually be incredibly ironic if we did one day. Right, there's the picture of us. You got the context that we put this snippet in. There's a picture of us, all 3 of us. We're at Valve, turning the Valve, like, hey, happy days, me, you, Daisy. And then we do an interview, right, with the Deadlock team. But we just don't mention Deadlock at any point. We literally do just talk to them about all the guff, like pineapples. Like, because everyone would hate it so much, but it would really be quite cathartic in how funny it would be.
The cucumber governor. Yeah. That was a good time.
Just an hour of, so was Lash pregnant?
Was he pregnant?
Yeah.
What happened there then?
Is there a rat fella? Where is rat fella?
Could he be there? The greats over towards mid-boss. That suggests a rat fella. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen rat scurry. Now, how did Valve use this mocap of rat scurrying to make rat fella? Just really like out there.
Was it a real pigeon you used when you filmed? for the spirit pigeons.
Did
and what is
Shiv's
his name?
knives get based on real knives?
Because I've got a butter knife that looks very similar.
This is what I mean. Like, that's unbelievable content. You're just there like, so when you made Viscous, how did you get the jelly in the game? You know, just like, where you'd be like, what are they asking us? Like, what do you want me to say to that? And you just go, well, did you put the jelly in the disk drive?
How did you get the jelly in the blender? That's what I really want to know.
There you go.
So overall, that would be fun. That would be fun. Interesting opening to the podcast. Again, sorry, I'm very bloodshot right now just because I've had these lights on since like...
It's been a long day.
12... maybe even 11 this morning because I've been working
12
today.
Hours, mate.
Yeah, and then I just played a quick game of Deadlock with Jacky, and I didn't turn the lights off, and I was like, why are my eyes really sore and hurting? And I'm just there on haze like this the entire time, like aiming. And yeah, obviously I've just blinded myself with the force of 1,000 suns.
It's good training. It's good training for, like, you know, we ever do a stage show mash on Deadlock, those lights will not bother you. Like, you're going to be set,
I'll be immune. I'll be immune. Yeah, I'll have sunglasses built into my eyeballs, which is pretty amazing by that point.
Yeah, just the eclipse, you know, we're just eclipsing you.
If needs be, drop the classic Twitch comment in the chat. Are you tired? Kinda, a little bit, but
maybe a little bit.
It is just the lights, honestly.
Yeah. They get to you. They do get to you. That's like the worst bit of doing like long days of shows is when it's just like there is no way of turning the light off and you're warm and eyes feel like they've just lost their focus. Yeah, don't love that. Don't love that.
There will be a smart person in the comments who will say that, well, why don't you just turn them off when you commentate on the games because you're not on camera?
You never know when you can come back to camera.
I have ADHD. I don't know when I'm going to come back to camera. And I never remember, even if I do know when I come back to camera, I never remember to turn them back on.
Yeah.
So it's just me looking like a Sith Lord in a very dark room. So that's why I don't turn them off in between.
The worst ones for that as well is I've had it before where like there's a lot of trust normally. Like shout out to PGL, love working with PGL, great company like for esports stuff. But there's a lot of trust with us, like some of the producers there when I've done some of the CS shows before because I've known and worked with them for years. So they would kind of give you the freedom of like, oh, if the lights are a pain when you're casting, turn them off. Just make sure they're on when you're on camera, right? But then that's on you. That's on you. Got to make sure it happens, bro. And I remember once we cut back, like end of an RMR for Counter Strike. It's like a huge upset game. Like someone's made it to the major. You've done the whole spiel of like they're going to the major. It's going to be unreal. And then I've realized the lights are off, and I can hear the producer being like, "We're cutting the cams. There's no lights." And I'm there, like climbing over the sofa, grabbing the light switch, turning it on, hoping they'll light up in time. Oh, awful. So yeah, not worth it. Not worth it.
No, not worth it. You're right though. Like you come off a really high moment. And then it comes back to you and just in the dark. It kind of takes away from it a little bit. It really does.
If you were like, it's his first major. And then it cuts back and it's me in a dark room going,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I know you spent so much money on this show and I've broken the lights. Yeah, awful.
Yeah, it's
awful.
not good. It's not good. But
it's not.
There we go. There's a little bit of a deep dive into what happens behind the scenes. You know, we could probably, it'd be nice to do like a little IRL vlog thing of when we're on the job at some point. Which would be cool.
Long term, I think that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That'd be fun. That'd be good. Just what we get up to.
Should we peel back the onion of the patch? Should we have a look?
We should. We really probably should. Because people are probably looking forward to that part of things. Yeah, a little bit of a deep dive going into this. But yeah, overall, patch was cool. Patch notice is out. Jacky did a bloody all-nighter on that bad boy. It's a great video, by the way. Lots of fun little gags on there as well. I enjoyed it a lot. Big hate towards Kelvin. Couple dad jokes. Big hate towards Kelvin. That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good patch notice. So if you haven't checked that out, or if you'd like to stay here and just listen to us, basically chat for it, you can do that as well. Either or. But yeah, let's get into it. So overall, it was a really good patch. Now, I actually do want to address one thing really quickly, is that I've seen and heard a lot of people thinking this is the big patch. This is still classified as a hotfix.
Yeah.
It's classified as a hotfix. It is not the big patch, which is even more amazing, actually, because we're getting a huge amount of content. It was, admittedly, I don't want to say boring, but it was a bland patch, right? It's just a lot of fixes, a lot of changes. There was nothing crazy. We didn't add new architecture. anything like that. Some boxes, positions have been changed, but it was nothing that crazily changed the game. It's all balance. So this is not the big patch. This is just a hotfix. And I imagine the big patch is still cooking somewhere, getting worked on. But for now, I think this is a really good patch because, if I'm quite honest, I played up until 2 days ago, and I had not played since 2 days ago. It was quite a tough patch to play on. I think it feels a lot better now, though. A lot better.
Yeah, no, again, like instantly off the games we've played, and then like the games in between of getting a grasp for patch notice, and the bits I was doing of just sort of running around testing things and the cursed apple. I think there is a lot of positive things in this patch, and it's a nicer way they've approached it, where it feels like as of late a lot of these balance updates have been kind of surface level changes to values on heroes, and then surface level changes in terms of like the flex slots have been changed. We're testing this. We're trying to see if we can speed up games ending. This was a little bit more of like under the hood, a boatload of quality of life stuff where they actually fix like a vast array of issues that I don't think everyone's going to run into every game, but it's good they've been tackled now, and you can see Valve are kind of working on some of that stuff. But it's also more interesting gameplay changes with the fact that they've kind of gone a bit balls to the walls on this one. Just been like, you know what? We're changing this overall. We're completely gutting this. We're absolutely adding like 10 seconds to everyone by changing this value. It's an interesting patch. I don't think it's bad at all. I get what you're saying. I've seen a couple of people saying sort of similar things where it's like, oh, there's no new hero skin or no new map. Yeah. And but at the end of the day, like, you can't expect that every time. I imagine for Valve as well, it's like the art stuff is just so far removed from any of what this patch was focusing on. Like you say, if it's listed as a hotfix when Yoshi adds us all, it's got to just be taken as, in their mind, this is a small hotfix, which in most games would be like 4 lines, but in Deadlock is obviously a half an hour long video that takes 12 hours to make.
I mean, they're mostly referring to these as updates. But again, I think when you look at the big updates that have come through, they've always been listed under major update. Yeah. Right?
That's the key phrase.
The key phrase is major update, and this is just update. It's just a cool little update. But overall, I mean, getting into shades. He's a cool little update,
Look at that guy.
The major updates come in wearing shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, drinking a pina colada. Those guys are really cool. Updates are more chill. They're more chill. But yeah, so this one's a fun one. I think overall, Valve, based off just the patch in general, Valve realized there's a big problem. In my opinion, there really was a big problem. It's in terms of like that stomp versus stomp capability in games. It's not fun, in my opinion, where you were playing games and it really didn't feel like there was much skill involved towards the end game, because it really just was one team slowly gets ahead and then it's game over. From the few games I've played, again, I need to play more, and I'm sure I'll have gripes with this patch as well. It's bound to happen. But from what I've played so far, it does feel a lot more rewarding to not just run it down on the wall, because like you can actually fight for things. Fighting for urns still now feels like a little bit more opportunistic. So yeah, it's good. It's very, very good. But there is plenty of things that have changed.
Yeah, there's an awful lot. And I think, again, like even some of the more surface level changes there affect stuff like that, where, you bring up the Kelvin change, right? For those of you that don't know, obviously, when they made it so that Kelvin would basically freeze any objectives, it always felt like the black sheep that was left out with that one was the soul urn. Like, why could he just claim free soul urns? We saw how pivotal that is in competitive play, but you take it to pubs, any kind of coordination with a Kelvin, you can just dominate like the soul value there and take away the entire mechanic of like getting back into the game with soul urn. So that alone was a good start of like, oh, this actually could be a nice patch to keep things a little bit more fair.
I also really enjoyed this one. This one was a really good one, which is Guardian base resistance increased from 40 to 60%, which still decays at 10 minutes, and it's the same values as creeps. Now, I am really, really happy with this change. They also reduced the overall bounty from all objectives, and it's a great change. I think actually it's a very good way to fix it. I didn't really think about it before like this, but like in terms of it having 60% resistance at the start of the game means you no longer... you probably still do, but you don't really have as many of those moments where it's 3 minutes 30, your Guardian's gone, you're asking for help, you've lost your whole laning phase.
Yeah.
I do think you need that laning phase at least up until 5 to 6 minutes, and this is a good way to fix that. I think when you're losing a Guardian at 6 minutes, Jacky, like, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable to lose it then, but you can still get back into the game off the back of that.
Yeah, I think that's more fair. And one of the ways I think that actually kind of quells that a little bit now is I saw some people being a bit confused with this one. You touched on it in patch notes, but I saw like reading it through the notes, I think it kind of threw people off. But obviously they changed sort of your first boons kind of in terms of like getting that second ability versus getting AP instead. That's been flipped, right? So you don't instantly get a second ability to play with. For most heroes, I think removing the opportunity to have two abilities in like the first kind of minute and a half of Deadlock in lane is actually vastly better, where there's so much more now in terms of you got to think about your early builds a little bit more, where that AP is going, what you're doing with it, but also your first ability choice actually has a bit more weight now, and you don't steamroll as easily where you had heroes that was like, yo, take my passive, whack an AP in there and just start shredding, and then also get like my damage dealing ability or movement ability to mitigate them being able to hit me, like mirages and stuff like that in lane. It felt a bit annoying with how quickly you'd scale.
Well, I mean, even just for lashes in general, I think that it's funny. I think Yoshi put in chat the other day. I forgot to clip it, actually. I should have done, but basically said anything and everything in this patch could be interpreted as a lash buff. So even though there were direct lash nerfs, and this is one of them, right? Yeah. Because before, you could quite happily pick up Flog as your first ability, and then get Ground Strike, and then work towards getting your Grapple. Now, obviously, it's going to take you a lot longer to get that Grapple online. So do you pick up Ground Strike first, and then go Grapple a little bit later, so you get that combo? Or how do you really work out that early game? And I think that it will properly differentiate who is a good early game laner and who is not. I think it's very important as well, because a lot of the really strong laners, once they get those two abilities online, they are pretty difficult to deal with. So this is quite nice in the way that it gives you extra time to work with, where Lash becomes a pain at 3.4k, but now you can still absolutely deal with him. Because I was actually talking to a friend about it recently, Mr. Jabin, and he was saying that, is this a hot take or not, but is it me, or why do everyone think that Lash is a weak early game laner? Because he's just not. And I was telling him, like, at a comp level, like Virtus Pro versus 1win, it is true, because Lash is a weak, but you have to punish him in that early game. If you I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's a weak early laner, so why is he dominating me? It's because you don't punish him, you don't push forward, you can't coordinate properly in a pubs, and that's fine and that's acceptable. And you just let him get Flog online, he gets Mystic Burst, he gets QSR, and then suddenly he's a real pain in the ass to deal with, and lane does a lot of damage. Most teams at a comp level will buy Headshot Booster, will build into Mystic Burst early and punish him in that early moment. Now I think it's much more viable for just your average player to be like, well, he's only got one ability, we can work a lot better here at punishing him, because he doesn't really come online until he's got his whole kit.
Yeah, not having that synergy early does make it a little bit more interesting. I think that's why, like, it is a good change. And again, that's one of those where, like, as soon as people sort of understand and get a couple games under their belt of how that might seem like a minor thing, like, oh, you just swap them around, it does have far bigger reverberations for how the laning phase and the opening moments of a game of Deadlock kind of goes. The decision making gets a bit more interesting. Yeah, it is better. I think it's a good take. It's a good addition. It's a nice way for him to change stuff. All in all, before we start getting too deep into it and breaking down a lot of the stuff, is there is many kind of highlights that we'll throw out on this one. There's an awful lot to touch on. Did want to say, with this patch, with the patch notes specifically, this update, take some of it with a grain of salt, because there's things that are listed here that don't get reflected in the client whatsoever. Like I was talking to you about this when we were playing. I was saying it's really weird how, like, some of the things that Valve have put in just don't even correlate. I'm not sure if it's UI, if it's they just didn't put the code in right for some of the stuff, but like hero boons that were supposed to be updated, it's like on McGuinness, it doesn't actually reflect what was in the notes whatsoever. But is that the UI bugged? Is that the game bugged? You'd have to delve a bit deeper into it. It's then also weirder things, man, where it's just like you increase the global cooldown for everyone in the game, right? By that 10%, which obviously, I'm going to be honest, just as a take on that one, I don't think a global increase of cooldown is the right way to go about it whatsoever, because I think it's silly that characters with small alt cooldowns, like Paradox, stuff like that, are only going to get a few seconds, where you take someone that's already got a gargantuan cooldown, it's getting vastly longer. But I say that, you'll be thinking, oh, Dynamo's is probably crazy long. Weirdly, for some reason, it's now 10 seconds shorter than it was pre-patch. And that, that reeks of like, should be a bug, shouldn't be the way it is. But then is it just Valve decided, it would be silly to make his even longer, so with everyone else's going up, we'll counter it by bringing his down. But then why wouldn't they say that? So this is a patch that's got a lot of things that had me kind of scratching my head with like, what were we supposed to get in some of the changes? A little bit of it doesn't quite make sense. There was also a lot of bugs, Blank, that I think made it kind of harder to gauge. Mirage was riddled. Like his tornado just did nothing. Like you'd still take damage in it, and I think people thought that was supposed to be the way it is. I saw people messaging me where they were like, "You didn't mention the fact he's vulnerable in tornado now," and it's like, no, he's 100% not meant to be.
That's broken. Yeah, that's not right.
That's a bug.
That's a bug.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a massive patch as well. Let's be frank about it. That it sort of makes sense. So a couple of things slipped through. You're still seeing a lot of stuff in just the Deadlock chat at the moment over on the Discord, where people are like clipping out of bounds and stuff like this, which they are struggling to. It does feel like Valve's struggling with how can they address that, but they haven't really done anything with this patch. I think that's a vaster issue that really does need looking at overall.
I think they did smooth. A lot of the clip brushes changed, but they didn't mention it, and they removed like interactions on Duke closets. It's weird.
You can't jump in certain areas of the map anymore. I get why they've done it, and it is definitely a band-aid fix. Let's be very clear.
Be staying. I think that is like you say. It's just if this fixes it for now, we can sort it out later.
Yeah. So again, it's overall. There's going to be a lot, but it was a giant. Again, it's a giant.
It was huge,
patch.
Really big, really big.
And we're talking about how Valve has gone from this idea of we're only going to be doing small patches in between the major updates. Like, bro, this is long. This is long, guys. Like, go to bed, have some rest. It's 4th of July.
Dude, that's the funny thing, right? Is like obviously it's just gargantuan patch. And I was sat there, I was like, I know like Valve's kind of like chill with how it's like, you pick what you want to do, you choose your own hours, just don't take the mickey. Like as long as everyone's doing their job, whatever gets you through the day and how it works, go for it. But like the whole Deadlock team's just like 4th of July, whatever, like Deadlock time, baby. You just come into the office, So funny. It's so funny.
Yeah, well, I think they're very passionate about it. They're very, very passionate about it. They really do love this game, and it's nice to see. But again, it's hard to go through all of this patch because there is just so much. And like I said, if you do want to have a deeper dive, I would definitely go watch patch notice.
Bounce between both, get your opinions from, promote from. I think the only one with that before we move away from like bugs and stuff. There is another weird one for the Mirage mains. I don't know if you caught this, but it's showing it off in patch notice where, for some reason, even though there's a 45-meter distance cap on applying Jin's Mark, if you apply Jin's Mark and then walk outside of that radius, it just ignores the radius. So you can continue to build up the stacks, even though you're outside the radius.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's strange. So once it's already applied, you can keep applying.
It ignores it, yeah. So as long as you're like close enough, obviously get one shot off, you keep applying it, doesn't matter how far they run, which are kind of counterintuitive of the reason for the change, I would imagine, right?
I am. What I'm thinking is that they're different entities. So like the first stack is a different entity to the second stack.
So like the build up, yeah.
Yeah. So in which case they've got the first stack that's capped, but the second entity is no longer capped. They've just not done it across the board.
Yeah.
Could be wrong, could absolutely be wrong in that case, but that definitely is fixing.
That's what I mean. That's one of those where it's hard to know, though. Like, is that meant to be the way it is? There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But anyway, we'll assume based on the notes, what's in the notes is gospel and anything else is unintended, just to make it easier. But yeah, we'll carry on, or else we'll be here on like speculation talk all night.
It's true. There's a very small patch in here as well, which is quite nice and is somewhat important to know. That if you're a spirit character, you should absolutely be going down towards mid-boss now because it had all of its resistance reduced from spirit as well as items. So if you're an Alkfire Vindicta main, get yourself down there, you're going to be doing some big damage. And I think that was partly in change because Gun is not dead. Gun is not dead. It's weaker, yes, but it's not dead.
It's like, it's flatlining. it's lost its pulse, but it's not dead yet.
It's not dead. I don't think Gun is dead. I think that people need more time on this patch.
It's just one of the where, like, imagine if I offered you a bounty of apples that are really delicious and they're purple and say spirit on them, or I offer you this banana that's kind of moldy and it has Gun carved into it. It's not bad. Like, you can still eat it. It's just a bit bruised, but I think you choose the apples.
I just don't think this is Kill Gun, though. I don't think it's Kill Gun. I seriously don't. I don't think it's Kill Gun. I think ability power is just better. But, again, when you look at this, you look at a lot of the hero changes as well. A lot of people got their spirit reduced. And I think that the way I see it is that early game spirit is no longer as oppressive. And what I saw people doing a lot of times was you would build... You could slowly build into Gun easily in lane without having to buy spirit on a spirit-oriented character purely because you were getting so much spirit early. Now spirit scales a lot better in towards the end game, so if you invest into it, you're doing quite well. Maybe there's an overcorrection here. There might be an overcorrection here, but I think it's the right correction.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where at least... You obviously had kind of like substantial overall bullet nerfs for most heroes. There's a lot of heroes in this patch, right? They're like targeted bullet growth or just base bullet damage nerfs. And then you factor in like the weird one of bullet cycle time. We'll explain that a little bit more in a minute because that comes into because it comes into effect, but I don't know how really. But I'll explain why it kind of makes Gun weaker. But I think it's just the fact that Spirit as well also had its dose of nerf. Like if you think about globally, 8% of ability damage going down, right? That's going to compound when you then look at how big some of the numbers were inside of this patch. Like they even kind of put emphasis on it with Afterburn, where they were like, yes, this 15% nerf also has 8% on top of it. So it's now at that point, you're looking over 25% or like 23%, whatever it is with the actual values. It's mad how big some of the nerfs were to like, abilities that used to scale really well with Spirit or just had good flat damage from the get-go. I think, again, it's one of those where, like, Gun, not as bursty, you can't just nuke everyone down. Abilities, not as bursty, give or take, but it's not as bad. Like, it's not as drastically cut.
Well, you just wouldn't even want to build into Spirit towards that late game. And again, I think that there are some issues with resistances as well, in my opinion.
Fair enough, yeah.
Where I think that makes it difficult to... basically build around, but you want some kind of defenses in the game, and I'm not sure how they really fix it, or how they go about it at the moment. There's plenty. There's a lot of things in this patch that I see, and I'm like, this feels like a holdover until we really take a proper look at some of these items. But they know that they needed to do something about them now because where the game was not in the best of states. Again, I think we're at that point in time where it's very minor things that can really affect the flow of the game, and we're going back to a long time ago in the alpha cycle where they are experimenting a lot more. I'm okay with that. You know what? I'm actually okay with the game being borderline very unfun for me personally, because they changed some things. I'm actually absolutely okay with that because it means that they are really trying everything. And again, it's very hard to please everyone at the moment. There are a lot of loud voices in the community, us included, let's be quite honest. And I do think it is hard to please everyone. But I would implore Valve to continue doing stuff like this, where we are just going to do this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, I think we kind of, the pendulum for us swung back that way a couple months back, where it felt like it went from you were being quite sort of out there with big drastic changes to then almost kind of reining it in, where it was like, little things. So I'm saying like surface level patches that at most kind of nerf the flavor of the month healing item and changed values. Whereas at least with this, like even if there's stuff you don't like, they've tried it, now they know. Rather they do it now than like a year's time from now when if the community already is very vocal about what they do and don't like being changed, it's going to be even worse then when the game's like, you know, getting spotlight on it and stuff. So yeah, I think it's fine. Like, I think it's a good time for them to muck around with this kind of stuff. And you can see them kind of figuring it out, like with this, like the kill bounties early. Obviously, that was a good change. We're like, this is sick, last patch. You've made it so you're actually giving players more souls, more rewarding for kills. But then because of everything else that's going on inside of that meta, it's super snowbally. You lose in lane. It feels like you lose the whole game and can't find a way back in. You've kind of played around with that again here. They're refining it. They haven't gutted it. They've even kind of explained it in the notes where they're like, yeah, it's only the very early portion, like just laning phase, that isn't gargantuan bounties, but you're still getting more money for kills. Kills have emphasis. So I think they're figuring it out. It's obviously just like takes 2 weeks per thing to go, was that a good decision or not?
The thing was the hero kill bounties as well. I mean, it's very clear what the problem was, is that in any MOBA, like at a base level, any MOBA, you should, in my opinion, be able to die 2 or 3 times in lane and still make your way back into it. Mm-hmm. You should absolutely put your opponent ahead, 100%, but it shouldn't be bad to the point of the game is over, which is what it felt like before. Yeah, we lost. It's over. Pack it up. Grab your suitcase. Let's go home. It wasn't like that, and I think that's reasonable. But the thing about being able to die 3 times, it teaches players a very valuable lesson, of the sense that I can die this amount of times before things get bad, and I need to stop trading past this point. Yeah. Before, we had a case where you died once, you could never trade again. Right? You died once or twice, there's no more trades. So players didn't really learn anything from that, in my opinion, where you're no longer trying to limit test, you're no longer trying to play the lane anymore because you're so far behind. It's not fun. It's really not fun.
You just get into that. It's the worst ebb and flow of Deadlock is when you get into the habit of just playing not to die. And it's like, I can't do anything because if I die, it's worse. You kind of have to be like an observer of you can't even jungle because the risk you run of like, I'm going to feed them more souls. Those are the worst times. Like those kind of metas where you fall into a really rough early game where you see your teammates in that position. It's kind of gross because like, dude, you're like, yeah, fair play, man. Next 15 minutes of your life, you're going to be doing nothing. You can't. Like,
you can't help. Yeah. Because that's the big problem as well, is that ganking is just not really a thing anymore. So if I see you and I'm on yellow lane, you're on green, right? You've lost lane beforehand. Yeah, you've annoyed me. And as I see you walking and pushed in, I know my life is going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, it's over.
The next
it's
20
rough.
minutes. And I can't help you.
No.
Because I have to deal with my lane. So yeah, I think being able to die 3 times now, roughly, let's say roughly, that's good. That's very good in my opinion. And it's a good change for players where, like you say, they're no longer on observer duty.
Yeah.
Which was bad, dude. It was really, really
It sucks.
bad.
Like, I'm going to be honest, if you're ever in a position, especially in a game like Deadlock, where it's like, it is so proactive. And like, I know at the minute it's kind of hard to see it because it's behind a lot of things that are being refined. But in those moments where you can be like the hero of the game and turn it around like a 1v3, 1v4, like you make the right plays. Unbelievable feeling. Like it's the same as Counter-Strike, where it's like, I've made the difference. Like I've pieced it together by threading the needle of like perfect ability usage, great movement, timing, aiming. It all comes together and it feels so rewarding. But when you're on the opposite end of it and you just feel like, I just die, I can't deal any damage, I don't know why I can't deal any damage or do anything. Yeah, that's the worst sort of period to be in. So I think stuff like this at least mitigates stuff like that because it's so hard to, especially for a new person. I imagine you come in at that kind of patch, dude. You've one bad game. It's over.
You didn't really get a chance to play the game. I think that's the big issue.
You don't learn. Yeah, you don't learn.
And I still think that, the flex slot changes are good, but I wish that they were slightly more forgiving. I think that maybe I preferred when it was less Guardians that required you to get a flex slot. I think opening up that early game is a very wise idea because I would like the mid game to be punishing. I want the early game to be the place where I can make some mistakes and I can make some plays. I don't want to be playing mid-late game deadlock in the laning phase. That sucks. And I think that they have made some good changes to that as well, and we'll see how those pan out. I don't think they want to do anything too drastic just yet, the flex slots after just changing them. But the hero kill bounty kind of leads straight into the Guardian total bounty reduced from 1,650 to 1,000. So now if you lose lane again, you're not being set that far back, right? It's really nice. I think it's a really good change. They're all really nice changes in terms of early game of effects. So yeah, well played, Valve.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like that whole kind of general update segment, the gameplay tweaks, basically. There wasn't much that I was kind of like, I hate that. Like, that seems annoying. Why have you done that? It was a lot more like, oh, okay, that's kind of out there. We'll see how that feels. But a lot of it was generally like, all right, yeah, cool. Like, I'm down with it. Like, all the mid-boss changes overall, I think, are actually a nicer way to go
amazing.
About it. Yeah.
Really amazing. I loved all of them. And again, they're all specifically geared to making that early game less oppressive, because you know that if it was a case, because rejuve bonus duration was 4 minutes, right, originally. But then it went down to 3 to 4 to 5 as you kill mid-boss. This means that every time you're killing mid-boss, yes, it's going to get longer each time, but we're opening up potential for mistakes and comebacks in that mid-game, which is where that should be happening. Late game is where you're closing the game out, barring a huge mistake.
I think, again, like you hit the nail on the head with the one key word, which was, honestly, mate, last patch, comebacks didn't exist. Like, there was no comebacks. If you didn't have your flex slots, you weren't getting your flex slots, because I had taken all of your objectives and hidden them away in my bag, and I'm there with your base guardians, your walkers, your guardians. You've got what? At most, maybe you've taken 3 guardians, homie. You've got 1 flex slot. Good luck trying to live off that. You've got 20k souls in the bank. Can't spend them on anything. I'm sitting there licking my lips. There was no way back in. I like the fact, at least with this, sure, the flex slots unchanged. That's one thing, right? Maybe they're taking the data, seeing if there's a better timeline for another 2 weeks from now, whatever. But at least you're playing around with the comeback soul values.
Yeah.
You've added on that 25%. So, like, basically, for anyone that doesn't know, it's kind of just like values generally from souls acclimated. So if you're like taking jungle camps, that value is higher for you as a comeback mechanic. It's just so you can get back into the game, literally with net worth. Comebacks are fun in Deadlock, man. I think they're a huge part of the power struggle, where, like, the joke's in the name. You have Deadlocks where it's like, whoa, they were really ahead, but they didn't end at the right time, so now we can bring it back, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted more of that.
100%, because it felt like last patch I was playing against Magnus Carlsen with a butt plug plugin where I just could not figure it out, dude. He was getting love sense updates as he went. And I was just losing pieces off the board, and I wasn't gaining anything at all off the back of it. So what the hell was I meant to do? Yeah, it was bad.
Just sit there and watch. And then when you did beat him, he stands up and just punches the desk and walks off. Yeah, and then comes back to shake your hands. Well played.
Well played. Yeah. So madness, not fun at all. Didn't enjoy that. And all these changes are good. They're all great. And we're not even on the weapon changes. I mean, we're quite far deep into this podcast already, but overall, there was a lot of very good weapon changes. I don't really want to speak too much on the weapon items here, because they're mostly just balancing, other than the express shot with kinetic carbine. I also, there's one key change with ricochet.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
Did you actually? Is this because
I
I
knew it was
raged about
coming.
the other day?
I mean, it's not even once. Like, I don't think you know how many times you've had your head knocked off from like a ricocheted bullet from a guardian. You're like, this is mental. So yeah, I thought you'd be happy with that one.
I didn't know I got so pissed off about that.
I think there's been 3 times in memory that I've heard you mention it, so I knew it was going to be the ricochet change. I thought you'd like that one.
Dude, if Ferris is just wrecking my walk and I'm getting like blasted in the head, like I'm behind it, I'm by the teleport. That's not fair.
Bing.
Yeah.
What am I meant to do?
It's like I'm not even the primary goal. I'm the fucking side effect. It's not fair.
He's not even trying to kill you. Like, he just wants the tower, but he's accidentally killed you. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll take that. So, yeah, but I will say, that is a good change. Like, I know the name, like, the joke's in the name again, right? Like, ricochet should be bouncing off things. but it doesn't need to proc off objectives. I think that's a bit weird because you could line them up in a really annoying way, like even with base guardians, shrines as well, where you play in the doorways. If you try and dip back for HP, it would just clip right through because it would bounce off the shrine. It's like, well, this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah. But yeah, that's the great way to put it. It is ridiculous. It feels ridiculous when it happens.
Ridiculous.
Wait, there is ridiculous. Yeah, there is one more change, which is good, which I don't think you'll be very pleased about, which is spell slinger now only activates while in combat. Zergy as well as Parzelion, I think, kind of are the issue here. I think more Parzelion, honestly. Yeah. I remember seeing him on McGuinness when this first was the thing, when he was just like spamming Fleetfoot to get it working. They increased the cooldown, increased the amount of time it took for Fleetfoot to proc, so that it's no longer getting all time, but still you can get to a point where Flask is on such a low cooldown, you throw it constantly and just have Spell Slinger at max stacks. It was gross, it was disgusting, I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah, that's fair. Dude, it was like literally like a best in slot item for Warden. When you were like actually playing like serious games, you wanted to, maximize it. Just the Flask cooldown in general is non-existent, so it was just free.
What a weird gameplay loop as well. He's walking around the map throwing a flask.
Dude, you'd have your finger hovering over one. The second, I'm like pre-firing flasks because the flask itself had no value. It was like, well, it'll either hit someone or a creep, or I'll just have another one,
Yeah.
So yeah, probably for the best.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so that's gone. So I know I said I wouldn't talk. Oh my god, sorry. I have to talk about weapon items a little bit. Apologies.
There's some good changes. Like there actually is some nice item changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Toxic bullets build-up's now 50% harder. Good change. I think I'd rather it reset than it was 15% harder personally. Just because that is a gross item. I think it's a bloated item as well. 3,200. You're getting quite a lot of investment on gun in terms of your passive investment. You're getting a lot of damage over time because it's percentage health base, which I think that any item that's percentage health base is pretty gross anyway. And then on top of that, you're getting healing reduction. It's a crazy bloated item. And I think 15% harder build up, it feels kind of meh, honestly, in my opinion. I still think that item needs looking at.
Yeah, again, though, I think this comes back to what you were saying before, where you can identify some of the changes that feel like they've just been kind of thrown as we need to nerf this for now.
Do something.
Yeah, like we've got to do something for now. It feels like that was a lot of the sentiment of some of the changes in this patch, where it's a mixture of like, we'll try stuff out, or we'll just fix things in a way that we can kind of tweak later. And that felt like one of those where like it is a pain in the ass item, especially on anyone that just has any kind of like passive build up, like Jin's Mark, even Fixate. I feel like just anything you can just batter someone with where it's applying it, suddenly it just gets like doubly horrific. You've got Dot City all over you. It's just bad. Like it's just bad.
Yeah, it's one of the primary reasons why Gun Infernus was so unfun to play against, because he could just buy toxic bullets and that would kind of tide you through the mid game until you had like all your items like Inhibitor or Ricochet. So yeah, that was tough. But yeah, other than that, there was some nice changes here and there, nothing too crazy. I think the big ones for me in Vitality as well as Spirit is Melee Lifesteal and Life Strike, as well as Spirit Snatch and Spirit Strike, both having their internal cooldowns doubled when you light melee. The amount of times, and again, Melee Lifesteal slowly was becoming the preferred healing item in lane for certain characters, just because you could get away with really free light melees mixed into what's it called, animation. Animations as well, because you'd have Calico leaping slash into light melee, or just leaping slash into
throw it out very quick.
Just getting the generally the lifesteal off the back of that. I think leaping slash that counts as a light melee as well, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think it should do. With how it applies the damage, it should.
Yeah. So and again with Viscous as well. Viscous is getting plenty of use case out of melee lifesteals or Spirit Strike in lane, because guess what? Puddle Punch also counts as a light melee until you have the tier 3. So you're getting double the cooldown on that.
By the way, Here's one for you, off the topic of that, because we don't really speak about Viscous much. It never really turns up in the patch notes too much anymore. It's like when he does, it's just kind of like weird changes. Do you not think it's weird that they tried that idea of making it parryable on Puddle Punch, but there's no other ability that really follows a similar vein? And especially at this point, with how you added like Counterspell and stuff, it's still parryable to negate the damage, but it feels like you can every time. Like you can just parry it without fail because it's very obvious. It just can't. Oh, massive green fist, parry that, and then that's it. No knockback.
The funny thing is that you can parry it quite easily off the sound cue.
Yeah.
And most visitors will try and place the Puddle Punch behind you so it's easier to hit. So if you just hear the blah, you just parry. Like you just parry because it's 100% going to hit you most of the time if he's aimed it correctly.
I think what you've just said there as well is probably like eye-opening from some people, but that arguably is the way easier way to do any kind of parry, punch, or just, melee-related gameplay in Deadlock. Do it all off sound. Like, close your eyes, go in the little training gym. Once you've understood the point of, like, the audio cue, it's very easy to hear it every time. And you can just, give or take, user error. You'll always be able to get those parries off because a lot of it is far easier to differentiate just from sound. Like the visual kind of throws you off at times.
I think so, 100%. And again, there's it's why you see a lot of these clips and it looks mental. It looks like auto parry where someone's parrying you and they're looking away from you. They're just going off sound cue. That's all they're doing. So yeah, that's definitely something you can incorporate into on gameplay. But on your topic, at the bebop hook, kept parryable.
Why can't I parry that?
Slash, parryable.
Why can't I parry that? Yeah.
Or these things make sense to me.
Just make it so that I can't parry his, and that like the item that exists for that reason has another use case. Whatever. It's just one of those where I was thinking about it recently, where I was like, it feels so weird that they made that choice, but then never did it to anyone else. I
think the problem with Viscous is that his kit is so unbelievably strong that having a self-imposed like restriction on Puddle Punch at least does feel good. I think if you started doing it on, fuck Bebop, let's be honest. I hate that guy. I
He's
think
just
I would
annoying, not gonna lie.
I would quite like to parry the hook on that, but there is other stuff where I think that you start adding parry into the mix, you might really hurt a kit. And then changes have to be made.
Well, yeah. Maybe with Bebop, it'd be like, how if you double hit control with stamina, you can dive downwards quickly, right? What if you're on the ground? Yeah, that's like a quick duck, like a crouch instantly, all the way down to the ground.
Oh, you're proned. Yeah, that'd be good.
So you can dodge the hook if you get it right, like a bouncing bay. Food for thought. Maybe we'll get that on the forum. See if anything changes there.
Which would be nice. Which would be very, very nice.
I think the big one, right, outside of item changes in general, like on a peer-to-peer level, cooldown reduction being entirely overhauled effectively inside of this patch. Obviously, we've got a brand new item for it, right? Which, again, by the way, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but we'll talk about Transcendent Cooldown and how it's kind of like the gap it's filling, obviously. The reason why it now needs to exist is because you've changed ability cooldown in general. Like that's been completely renamed. So all CDR is now ACR, which is ability cooldown reduction, and it will only affect abilities. Before, obviously, it also brought down that cooldown on items, so you could use it to get quicker item usage.
Not looking forward to saying that on cast.
No. Now, if you want that, obviously, you have to buy Transcendent cooldown. That's the only way to reduce, item cooldown alongside ability cooldown. 30% for both. I think the interesting thing with that as well is the regen they've whacked on it is actually pretty substantial. And in fact, you get the 30% cooldown on any item just off the back of buying one item with Transcendent cooldown. We were obviously playing that game, and I was kind of like trying to see how far you can push it. But I feel like there's so many cases where that could be ridiculously broken with interactions on certain items, like Lightning Scroll, certain heroes as well, like the scaling on it. It feels like I get why they've done it, but it feels like I might need some time to cook on this, dude. This could be a weird change.
Well, to be honest with you, you look back, superior cooldown, what was that, 24% or 26%? I think
it's 24, right?
24%. That was 24% CDR across the entire board, right? So that's already pretty damn strong. You're only tacking like 6% extra onto it to get the item cooldown.
It helps though. Does help.
It does help. And it also prevents people from building into superior cooldown. For instance, like sevens. You know, you rush unstoppable, you rush superior cooldown. You could have unstoppable up for everything all the time. It was always ready, always off cooldown. You could use it even before you went into a team fight and then use it again with your ultimate. So yeah, I'm glad that there is a change here, because it also affected cultist sacrifice in a big way, which is a big one that I don't think a lot of people understood. Oh, yeah, superior ability cooldown reduction increased from 24 to 25%. So, yeah, we're playing for the first time.
I think that the thing with that as well is, though, I don't actually know if that many people were aware that they were getting reduction on their item cooldowns when buying these items. I think, like, yes,
probably not.
Like, there was probably a decent chunk of us that knew, because we've been playing the game for a long time. Like, you figure this stuff out. But I thought about this when we were casting recently, because I was like, damn, trying to explain, like, the idea of if you actually wanted to give, like, a breakdown of, like, yeah, that guy's cooldown's now vastly shorter because of X, Y, and Z. And although it says it's this cooldown at the start when he bought the item, it's now actually this. Like, that's kind of baffling for anyone that, like, tunes in as sort of like a viewer. Doesn't play the game like religiously, but likes Deadlock, right? Thinks it looks cool. You'd be like, what is he on about? Why is that cooldown gone down from 70 seconds to 42? Like,
yeah, it's nice that they have clarified this ICR now, which is item cooldown reduction. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Transcendent cooldown's a cool item. It's a very, very cool item. I'm glad they added it. Adds a little bit more to characters that have really, really long cooldowns. It's nice for instance, Dynamos. Dynamos are going to love that one with their new 230-second cooldown, as well as being able to drop vortex webs all over the place. So yeah, there's cool stuff there. There's very cool stuff.
I was going to say with that as well, by the way, have you seen this and the spirit changes and the fact that obviously we had that 20% reduction on Seven's ult damage for the DPS? People are actually building balls again. Balls are back.
Are they?
Yeah, I've been seeing ball builds pop up. People are using ball builds again.
More balls. Balls all the time.
Don't think I've seen a ball build in a long time. It's been like power surge, ult. Those are your options.
Yeah, I've not seen big balls a lot. And again, to be fair, big balls do clear the jungle quite quickly. So people have been kind of enjoying that. Again, I do think that Stormcloud 7 was a bit of a weird one, and it was I think it was personally popularized by the esports scene. You know, people like Saint playing it. It is, and I think what people don't understand is that it's such a boring role. Your job is literally to press unstoppable and fall. And the way I played it as well, and the way a lot of the professionals played it, is that you press forward to delete objectives.
Yes,
it's just unfun. But outside of your 4, you are useless. Okay, I think that's what a lot of people didn't quite get across. Is that you do some power surge damage, yes, you do some lightning bolt damage, but realistically, outside of your Stormcloud for that 120 seconds whilst you're waiting around, you're not really doing anything.
No.
So yeah, I'm glad we're moving back over towards ball.
Yeah, I think it's better. I will say though, his gun right now kind of feels a bit poopy. I know obviously we're saying like gun fully isn't dead, but like does feel a bit worse. Seven's gun specifically. This is what I was saying, like with the weird bullet cycle time idea. We'll get it out with a quick explanation. You can do your own research. As it sent me west. I spent like 45 minutes talking to Daisy about it. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. Like I'm comparing the numbers. I'm looking at the footage. Effectively, Blank, as I understand how this works, generally as a rule of thumb, like burst fire guns in Deadlock anyway are like kind of roughly like 20 to 30% less proficient in terms of the downtime between obviously like your next shot, right? Because burst, 3 bullets, wait, 3 bullets. So it's like the DPS conversion for a burst fire hero on average by 25% less than someone that just has a full auto gun, because you can't get the shots out as quickly. Now, the changes they put in here that say cycle time are listed as a flat gun DPS global reduction by 5%. But I do not understand how on earth Valve have done this or figured this out, because there is no rate of fire difference apart from what is either so negligible that you can't tell, or user error, that on burst fire guns, it's like a fraction of a millisecond longer between that last shot. But I will say, go on.
Try and get clarification from Big Yosh.
You can try find out, because, mate, I was doing all sorts of research into this, and I pinpointed it to effectively being a combination of things, where rate of fire isn't what they meant. It wasn't a rate of fire reduction. Bullet cycle time then makes you think that basically the way they've changed it is obviously the downtime between each bullet firing is going to be longer. It's not that. That would also kind of be rate of fire. Apparently, though, the way the game factors in cycle time is tied to things like characters have pull trigger delay. So again, on burst fire characters, that's why it feels a bit weirder with how it's working. Then you also need to factor in that apparently there's a hidden mechanic with cycle time that gets reset every time you do anything that's like a braking animation. So sliding, meleeing, stuff like that. You have to reset it, then it does damage.
Oh my God.
But all of this is just random information that means absolutely nothing in the context of how on earth has it made it so that I'm doing 5% less damage globally? Where's the DPS reduction coming from? That's the bit I don't understand, Blank, because surely it's only a 5% DPS reduction if I'm dashing 24/7 every single game, but I'm not. And then that would mean rate of fire, but it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. And I sat here for hours comparing the footage, and it just doesn't make any sense. Basically, I don't know. There you go. That's the summary of why we now do less gun damage by 5%. I don't know.
All right, well, dropped a message to Mr. Yosh. We'll see if he says anything.
Because he literally has blown my box. I tried everything to figure out why, testing like different things to see like where the correlation is frame by frame. I just can't find it. But apparently we do 5% less damage on all guns now.
Yeah, it doesn't. To me, it's kind of like, I didn't understand it myself because when I was trying to figure it out, I was like, okay, this seems like you're just firing less bullets. You have less bullet rate, but that's not what it does.
No.
So I still don't know.
So what have they done? Right?
But because you're right, how does that equate to?
Do you see what I mean?
Flat 5%?
Because it would only be a flat 5% if every single time I pulled the trigger, it's 5% slower, which would then be 100% a 5% DPS reduction, but it's not. And if it only happens sometimes with a mechanic that breaks that cycle, then that ain't a flat 5% DPS reduction. That would be a sometimes 5% DPS reduction Lamau in brackets, but it ain't, Blank. They didn't write Lamau. They wrote it serious.
They did write it serious, and with a little brackets as well, so it definitely meant something else. But we'll update you if
we figure it out. Yeah.
If we figure it out, we'll update you. But right now, it's a bit of a weird one.
But anyway, I didn't want to take up too much time with that one. But that had to get it off my chest. That one was just sent me west, mate. I sat here just losing my mind for a solid sort of 45 minutes of it just did not make sense. It would not click.
Yeah. Anyway. Some characters feel a little worse off the back of it. Some characters don't feel like anything happened.
Some things have changed.
Some things have changed. I was playing Hades earlier, and it's like I didn't notice at all.
Because that's the thing, right? Her rate of fire is exactly the same, 1-to-1, has not changed.
Yeah,
but they want you to think it has.
Yeah, I did not get it.
Look, right? Maybe there's two options. One, it's a psyop, and Valve just tricked you and wanted to see if everyone goes, yeah, guns are doing way less damage.
Guns
right?
dead, guys.
Just to see. Or the other option is be a unbelievable sick meme if they just never pushed the update but said they did.
Also true. To be fair, in the patch notice, it's like, wait, let me go over. Global DPS reduction. I'm not going to listen to you try to figure this out. But there's a side-by-side with Bebop here. Now, in my mind, he stops firing marginally slower.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's why I'm saying that could be user error. Because then if you look at some of the other clips, it doesn't always work out that way. And with anyone that's full auto, it doesn't seem like there's any difference. But heroes that are burst fire, seems like maybe there's a very slight difference. And that's why I thought Bebop would be a good test, because it's like a weird laser beam. Like, how do you adjust the rate of fire DPS output on that? Apparently you don't.
I don't know. I just don't
Right?
know.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Yeah, Mo and Krill seems to be exactly the same. And then you look at Seven, there seems to be a marginal difference there. But feels bad to be hurting Seven in this case.
And if that's the case, why is it only burst fire guns that are getting worse when burst fire guns arguably kind of suck more anyway? Especially in lane, bro. You're going to make my gun shoot slightly slower on a lash? I'm already struggling. I'm shooting people's feet. I'm shooting souls. Please, I want some souls.
Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we'll figure it out and then we'll come back to it. There was a lot of hero changes. I don't think anything was too crazy and not something that you would have expected in the first place. For instance, for me, the Infernus changes were very much needed.
Had to be done, yeah.
They did hold off. Again, this is a very Valve change, and it's weird the way they're going about it at the moment is that they're trying to change everything else about a kit before they look at what's fully broken. I'm glad they did change the afterburn scaling, but the thing that's broken with Infernus is the one. It's so bloated. You're getting additional damage. You've got healing reduction. You've got lifesteal that you gain on top of it. Increased afterburn buildup. It is a insane ability. And I think that's something that maybe that's just part of his identity, is that you do not want to get hit by his one. It's close range, stay away.
Stay out of its way, I guess. I mean, in theory, you kind of, you shouldn't be that close to him unless something's gone wrong or if he's running you down. Then I don't know. That is a weird one. I think again, like, those changes did need to happen. It's like in pub play and comp play, the fact that he's topping the charts of like most damage, even in games where he didn't need to be necessarily the most proactive player, but just from literally standing there like Infernus turret, applying dot after dot after dot, it did seem silly how much damage he was raking up every game.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I think Infernus was going to be a bit of a problem. Again, that's why they've brought all the spirit early game damage down, but it scales harder to stop hybrids like Infernus, like Geist, for instance, from succeeding by buying Spellslinger, by buying Berserker, by buying Toxic Bullets and into Ricochet. Because Infernus realistically shouldn't benefit that much from Afterburn whilst doing a crap load of gun damage at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a similar scenario with Geist where Life Siphon is so strong. It's unbelievably strong at all stages of the game whilst building just Tank Buster. It's crazy stuff. Yeah. I'm glad they do change some of that stuff.
Well, it's interesting with that one, because that's the funny thing, is I felt like that was going to get some kind of like eyes on it, because obviously you can get ability charges on it. It feels like it just absolutely drains your entire HP bar in seconds, but nothing there this time. We'll see. Maybe that gets focused on later. I didn't mind though, Blank, I will say, the Essence Bomb change. It doesn't feel that different. I'm going to be real. Like, looking at it in real time.
I tested it. I did test it. Go on.
I was going to say, like, looking at it in real time doesn't feel that different. But you've gone from being, if you were on the outer edge of a Geist Bomb, you could not dash out in time before it blew up. Now you can. There you go. That was your point.
I'm glad we did the exact same test as well. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure I've done the exact same thing as me.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's the exact same problem we had with GT as well, Great Island back in the day, where you would hear the noise for the arrow would be coming towards you, you would dash left or right, and you would still hit
get go,
which doesn't feel good. That's changed now. I still think if you're late on it, you do get hit, and it's a very minor thing.
It's a small window. It's a small window, but it's actually doable now. I think that's the difference. Is before it was like you just get Geist bombed. There was no way out.
Yeah. So unless you're juking it, because it has travel time on it, but now there is a possibility to get out, and guys need to be a bit more cognizant of how they're throwing them. Yeah. Or by Mystic range.
Just make it massive, and then there you go.
Then you can do that. Or just build into Spirit and do it that way. Bish, bash, bosh, you can enjoy that one.
Yeah.
But
and then I think I was going to say, like, the only other one with that as well, the fact that we've now, back to patch compounding patches, you went down from, 6.5 or 7 meters for Soul Exchange to then 6 meters to now 5.5 meters. Like, mate, you need a warp stone. You
do need a warp stone. Yeah, you need something to get out of there. It's kind of hard. Overall, the rest of the changes was pretty good. I'm glad they didn't touch Warden too much. 17.6 bullet damage reduced to 17. I don't think they had to change his kit too much. I think they've already hurt him a lot through just itemization changes in terms of hybridization. Yeah, that's good. And Sinclair is just no longer annoying. I think this one you actually have to visualize. I don't think this one works well. Me just reading it out. So this one you'll just notice in game a lot more. Where Rabbit is just a lot less egregious.
Yeah, it's just nowhere near as bad. I think that's the nice bit about those changes for Sinclair is I think they got so wrapped up on where it's like vexing bolt damage, assistant damage, vexing bolt damage. But in reality, it's like, yeah, fair enough. He is a bit of a pain in the arse early in lane. But this was the problem of like a high skill cap Sinclair being able to infinite TP halfway across the map. You throw all your stuns on him and he's like, see ya, I've taken your base guardian. See ya, I've taken your shrines. That felt bad. The constant rabbits where you couldn't avoid him as well. You physically could not outrun him. The fact you've at least increased that move speed a good amount as well, not like 5% more, up to 36%. Like, try catch me now. Like, try punch me as a rabbit now. You know, I liked it. I think they're good changes. I think arguably he's an annoying hero. That's how I describe Sinclair. Like, it's really annoying to play against. Obviously, high skill cap. If you're good at him, yeah, you can absolutely run rampant on a server. But I'm glad they changed what they changed.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think we're coming to the natural conclusion of this podcast now. But what I will say is that now you've listened to all of this, the way I see this patch is that it's not something where you can read one part of this patch and be like, oh, I quite like that change, that's good. You really have to read all of it because it's all interconnected, interlinked. It's
like
very much interlinked. Yeah, it's very interlinked. And every single little thing reads back into one another of how they're changing hybridization, how it works in terms of building spirit or building gun. You can build a little bit here and there, but you are going to be a completely different character. You're not going to excel on both. Generally, just overall changes to the early game, which again, it all comes back into a lot of these other changes that went through. It's a fantastic patch. It is a little bland. But I promise you that it's very fun. I think last podcast I said I wouldn't recommend the game in the current state to new players. Mm-hmm. This one I absolutely would. I think this is much more forgiving, much more fun for new players to work with. And I would say now is probably a good time to come back whilst we're waiting for this next major update. I think this is the best it'll feel for probably, I'd say at least 2 to 4 weeks. 2 to 4 weeks, this is the best it has felt for me personally.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Like it's a good update. It's a good quality of life patch. There's a lot of like good things that were changed. I think even outside like the more specific hero changes, we were saying at the beginning, but the fact like they're trying to fix Wraith TP at the utmost. You know, they did it again here where they're saying like Project Mind will now not go anywhere if the player was on uneven ground. That's been fixed where it used to just kind of like do nothing. Did the same for Pocket. They're changing a lot of that stuff where if it is a bug, if it is a problem, they're actually looking at it and fixing it. There's tons of it in general. Like it's too much to go over, but it's like interactions with certain abilities on mid-boss, interactions with the camera for like Calico, Viscous. You can see they clearly have like the list of stuff to get through on the Slack channel of like, we should fix all this. Yeah. And we've got a good amount of it here. Only like highlights as well that we didn't mention there. New medicinal spectre for McGinnis. How did we live with the old one for so long? It's actually like usable now. It's really good. It's a clutch healing item.
It's really nice. It's really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah. I very much enjoyed it. I think that they've struggled to figure out how to make McGinnis work. I think right now she's a cool supportive character.
Yeah.
And it really hurts me to say it, but I do think they need to rework the one. I don't think the turrets work as in their current state. And it does break me to say it. I like Medicinal Spectre. I'm not sure how they're going to fix the turrets, potentially, because they're so iconic to the character as well. I think that's the problem.
What if you just make them like little spider tanks and they follow you and you can only have like 2 up at a time?
That would be cool. That would be really, really cool. And to be fair, they could do something really interesting with that as well, where instead of it being a regular build path, where you get tier 1, tier 2, tier 3
options.
Maybe you can have options for your spider tanks.
That's
maybe
cool.
They can do different things. So you can have a spec into a little bit of healing, or a little bit of drone it flies, or CCs, or it heals,
dude,
stuff like that.
You could literally use them if you want to do a build that's like Risk of Rain oriented. You go for like one that's like a UAV. It gives you like blips of,
that would be cool.
Idea. That's a forum post, bro. That's a hero rework that'd be fun.
I'll probably need to get on that, actually. Yeah, need to get on that.
We'll get a Google Doc cooking. Like we'll workshop that, draw up some concept art of McGinnis on a drone. They'd love it. They'd love it.
Yeah, I bet they would. I think that would be a generally good change, because I just think in our current state is that Medicinal Spectre is so cool now. I think Wall is one of the strongest abilities in the game, and it is fun.
Skillful as well.
It's skillful as well. I like Rocket Barrage. I think it's a cool ultimate. Turrets have got to change. Yeah. And I don't think tacking on extra health is going to fix it.
They're just kind of mindless spam. Like, that's it. They just, they didn't really mean anything. You just throw them down, the next one will come along anyway, so who cares? Yeah, I think, McGuinness arguably feels better now than she has in a very long time, but she can still feel better. And I think there's a difference of being playable versus being actually viable. And she's still not quite over that precipice for the general public. There's some people that can do it, but it takes a lot of investment and a particular play style of not ever leaving a lane, which I don't know if, that's really what they want. Yeah. Only other one I think that's worth mentioning as well is for any of the Wraith Doomers out there like myself, obviously her gun had the barrel like bent off and welded shut. And it isn't that drastic actually, weirdly, compared to how bad the patch is, but it sounds like it's still viable. You still shoot people and it does damage, it's good. But card trick is way better now. I was raving to you about like the tier 3 is actually sick. Like that slow makes a hell of a difference. You build into it with slowing bullets as well. Like the combo's mad. It's way better now. You've increased the spirit scaling by 0.1, which 0.1. What does that mean? Actually quite a bit. Like it does affect it. It is good. And the tier 3 going up by another 5% on that slow. I think with all the changes in this, bro, even if Gun's not dead, Gun Wraith absolutely should be in a coffin, but Hybrid Spirit, focusing on cards, it's in. It's fun. It's good. It does a lot of damage. It's cool to play.
It's smooth as well.
Yeah. In a weird way, we kind of got what we wanted. Like 3 podcasts ago, we were going, I hate that full auto's the biggest bit of our kit. Where did the cards go? Well, we got what we want. The monkey paw closes. Like,
We've killed Gun, but we brought Card Wraith back.
Card Trick's back.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's cool. It's all worked out. It's all worked out nicely.
Well, there you go. That was nice. I think, you could see this patch had a lot of stuff we both kind of had reactions to and thoughts on. So I'm glad the timing worked out that we could get our opinions on it whilst it's fresh as well. Usually, obviously, it's like you've got to record in advance or it's a couple days late or whatever. So, it's nice. I think it's a good patch, man. All in all, I think they're cooking. You can see it, obviously they've got more they probably are doing behind the scenes with the graphics or whatever, but that's always going to be happening. That's Valve. Like you imagine the writing team's probably coming up with some incredible stuff right now, but we won't see it until it's ready. Whereas what we can see is the actual gameplay. And I think I would describe this patch as a gameplay first update. It's not like full of fluff.
Yeah.
It's gameplay first. It's focusing on fixing bugs, focusing on improving things, making the experience better for everyone. And I'd say it has. If the last patch was Marmite, this one is definitely more appealing. It's a broader appeal. It's like Bacon. It's the Bacon update.
Yeah, I think this is the one thing they've been struggling for a while now, and it is just the general gameplay, the loop, as what we were calling it. And I think that it's always going to be the hardest thing to pinpoint down. And I don't think 3 lanes is going to be going away, personally, because it feels like they're investing a lot into this now, how they want to make it work. And I think they are close. They are close to something good now. It is just minor things changing. I feel like a lot of the changes over towards the objectives were very nice and were addressing the core problems. And also making that early game easier. Yeah. I do think the early game should always be easier because you don't want to make the game so unforgiving for new players. And I think the new players should have that first 10, 15 minutes to be like, I've made some mistakes, I've made some cool plays, I'm probably going to lose now, but at least it wasn't just minute 1, someone's put their stomper on my throat.
Yeah, because I mean, we've all had them. You've all had those games where you get the random person that's gone like 4 deaths in lane in the first 5 minutes, and then they just DC. Because in their mind, they're like, well, it's over. But, that you've ruined it for everyone. Whereas at least with this, it's like, try not to die. See if you can keep yourself alive. But if you die once, it's not going to ruin the game. They're not going to be 1,000 souls ahead and you're just sat there hating your life with no way to defend one another. So yeah, it's a good patch, man. It's a good patch. I think it's this kind of stuff is trending in a good direction for the game. And again, it's weird. Like you look back, start of the podcast was saying it's been a year since that 4th of July update last time. the game has drastically changed from an engine level to a visual level to a gameplay level. It's only going to change more, Blank. It's going to be very different. Like at the rate they're updating it, you look even 6 months from now, we're probably going to be looking at a very different game.
Massively so. And let's obviously July beta, I think that's dead in the water at this point in time.
Hang on, mate, because it's the 6th of July. We're still in July. So maybe for all the people that were spamming that and saying July beta, they've got, 23 days, 24 days? Let's see.
They do. Let's wait and see. We'll wait it out. Wait it out. Let's wait it out.
Yeah, the July beta. Yeah, that'd be funny. We'll just call the podcast that. Upset everyone.
July that beta. Would actually you. Oh, Red. We actually made better here.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
No, let's just do it. We'll go for like now that's what I call Deadlock or something like that. but capital now. I mean that's good. That's safe territory.
In brackets, July beta? Question mark.
Question mark, yeah. Maybe. But there you go, everyone. Hey, that's it. Another episode of the Dead Air podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Should be something fun in store for next week as well, Blank. Very special guest going to be joining us on the podcast. Yes. Yeah. Bit of a surprise. A really good episode. So I'm sure people are going to enjoy that one when it comes out.
Until then, bye-bye. Take care.
See you later.
Have a lovely day / night or whatever. Yeah. See you there.
Enjoy your gym or ride to work. Doesn't really matter, but have fun and do it with a smile. From us at Dead Air, we'll see you later, probably. Bye-bye.
Bye.